we're all busy people trying to juggle work and life balance, personal life balance. I've read the book a number of times now. How could you help the team with some productivity tips, how you prioritise the most important things in life? Because trying to get all that done in 7 days is pretty challenging. So if you've got any words of wisdom that you can share to kick us off, that would be great.
Of course.
Thanks.
Firstly, thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Usually we chat with less of an audience, but it's still nice.
Indeed, yeah.
I'm going to start off counterintuitively with, we always talk about work-life balance and whatever else. I mean, I think I'm constantly out of balance. I think I'm okay to admit it amongst friends as well. I heard a great phrase that someone said to me a few weeks ago. I listened to a podcast on it, and they said work balance and work life effectively means you have a work ethic, but it's as important as the mirror to have a rest ethic. So without talking actually about work too much, because I think the given has to be in any profession and anything you want to achieve good things at. As we heard this morning in another panel we were both at, you've got to give it your all, and not just for a day and all the usual tripes. But what I've learned more recently, I think, is in order for you to give your best, you've got to be at your full replenished self to be able to do that. And that's just come about of sort of various levels of reflection over the last few years as well, because I actually think for a long time I wasn't resting very well, and I wasn't probably the best person to answer the question of, you know, how do you balance it all, and because really I think I was probably on the unhealthy side of the spectrum, which was, oh, I'm just going to keep working, I'm going to keep burying my head in the sand, I'm going to keep being productive, I'm going to keep doing the thing, without having the reflection at some point, or the recollection of thinking, well, actually, in order to maintain the pace that I'm possibly going at, I need to look after myself as well. And so a few of the tips that I've completely plagiarized from much better people than myself. The one actually is the one that's probably been the most useful for me, without getting all new age on us, is a form of meditation that I do every now and then. I don't do it all the time, but when I'm feeling a little bit overawed and there's quite a lot going on and I'm not quite sure what to juggle first, I'm not sure of priorities and the rest of it, I'd really recommend, there's a podcast called, and by the way, we're going to turn this into a book club and a podcast club, so we'll just keep the recommendations coming, called The Knowledge Project. And there's this guy who he interviews called Naval Ravikant, who's an angel investor and philosopher. And he specifically he talks about a variety of different things. But the main thing he really talks about is productivity and meditation. And what he says, I almost think, and maybe you guys think the same, but whenever you're told to sort of meditate, we've gone off in a very odd direction.
It's good, mate. It's a great start.
You're always sort of said to, like, you've got to clear your head of everything, and you've got to focus on one thing, and then when things come into your brain or otherwise, you've got to try and take them out of your brain and keep that intense focus on the singularity or whatever else it might be. And I've never been able to do it. I literally, my brain is like yours, is just constantly like 1,000 miles an hour, and I have real trouble turning it off. What I actually realized the answer was it's going like that because you're in a state of delay. You're trying to concentrate on the thing to do now, and your brain is constantly trying to catch up with your current state. And so what he said is that he does quite well, which I quite liked, was he just lets his brain play himself out. So the trick is, I found the trick is, you literally sit down in a dark room, try and close your eyes or whatever, and just let your brain go. But the thing that you can't do is do anything about it. You can't pick up your phone, you can't turn on the TV, you can't set a reminder of anything, you can't, and all of these things happen. Oh, I need to do this, I need to phone that person, I need to do that. And you have to do it for at least half an hour.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay.
And it's incredibly difficult to just be with yourself for 30 minutes and do absolutely nothing. I found it actually almost impossible, in truth, in the first few times. but it actually decompresses you. That's the best way I can try
Does
and
it
explain
help?
it. Yeah, massively.
Really?
Massively, because it actually allows you to sync up with your own mindful self,
Okay.
actually. So I found that very useful. The other thing, which is massively underrated, is there's obviously some great books about it now, is sleep. Silly thing to say, I challenge anybody over a year's period that says they get less than 6 hours sleep. I think they're just liars, is the truth. And if they're not, then they're not performing at anywhere near their designated functionality. And then I think the other thing that I was thinking about as well is there's a great book called by a guy called Stephen Pink, I've forgotten his first name, called When. And it's all about when you're the most productive. I actually always thought for a long time I was my most productive at certain times of the day, but especially at an evening time and night time when I had less distractions.
Right.
It turns out I was absolutely wrong about that. I'm extremely good if I get enough sleep between about 6:30 and about 8 a.m. in the morning, before the rest of the world is basically up.
Right.
And I feel a lot more inspired and creative first thing in the morning rather than the whole day doing. So I think the rest ethic self-care point, balanced with obviously for the people that are going above and beyond for long periods of time, is equally as important.
So we need to convert some rooms to bedrooms and somewhere to sit quietly by the side.
Good siesta is not the worst thing in the world.
Sounds ideal. So anything like practical in terms of like how do you manage your time?
Yeah.
How do you project manage all of that? Like that's a lot of work whilst you're still doing a full-time job being a senior partner at a law firm.
Yep. The short answer on that, which I can expand upon, is everybody overestimates motivation and underestimates compounding effects of consistency.
Right.
And the output of that is, as everyone can see, you buy a gym membership in January and you realise it's September and I've gone 3 times. And the flip side of that, we've all been there.
Guilty.
And the flip side of that is everybody underestimates doing one thing well each day for 10 minutes.
Okay.
So that's how I would describe it in terms of my story. It started actually more specifically in lockdown.
Right.
When days merged into weeks, and the rest of it is I started a journal, an accountability journal actually I called it. And one of the funnest things I did every day for almost 9 months is every weekday at 6 o'clock I would get on a video call with my dad and do 10 minutes of exercise. Every day, 5 days a week, not every day, 5 days a week in the week for 9 months. And we did whatever, a certain amount of squats, a certain amount of lunges, a certain amount of sit-ups, and then it just became a habit. So a habit is usually formed after around 23 days, is what the science apparently is. And what I did for my journal there is I had about 6 things I did, and they're actually really easy things to do, and you just tick them off each day. So you gamify it really. Can I do 2 in a row? Do 3 in a row? I don't want to lose 5 days, and you become more accountable to yourself.